Hey, it's Coulter from 102.1 The Edge, joined by K.Flay. Welcome to my basement, which is probably the creepiest thing you're going to hear today.
Hey, it's early. It's only 9 in the morning in Los Angeles. So,
Well,
um,
listen, it's noon, and regardless, it's still very dark and creepy down here. I'm going to be honest.
it doesn't look creepy. You have a
Thank you.
non-creepy looking
Oh,
basement.
thank you very much. So you're not like, oh, I might be talking to a serial killer right now.
No, I actually definitely don't think you're a serial killer.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear. Congratulations on the new EP. We'll get into that in a sec. We've chatted a few times in the past, and what I like about you is you tell it like it is. And I know this is such a cliche, but like you're kind of the real deal. But I was trolling through your social media before the interview, and I was struck by the fact that you never complain about anything. Like you go on a lot of people's Twitter specifically, and they're just like, "Oh man, the post office, like you didn't drop off my thing in time," or like insert airline here, or you lost my baggage. Is the lack of complaining, is that like a K-Flay thing, or is that like hey dude, I'm a public figure, it's just not a good look?
I guess perhaps I operate under the mentality that complaints should really be saved when the grievance matters, is real, and like must be dealt with. So perhaps because of that, I don't ever really feel compelled to complain. And in a public way, I guess that wouldn't be how I would choose to do it. I will certainly complain about just random things to like my friends. Like on the phone, I'll just be like, oh my God. And then I
Yeah, you
got,
don't want a paper trail, right?
yeah, exactly. Like the other day, even like I got where I grew up, we called it getting budged in line, but I think everywhere else people call it getting cut in line. But
Yeah.
this is one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't ever post about this, but like a line is it transcends age and race and gender and nationality and sexual orientation. It's just like it's a line.
Oh yeah.
And so when I get buzzed in line, I feel affronted as a human being in this like really deep way. And so I got buzzed. Actually, I hadn't complained about it yet to anyone. So you're the first person. Now I'm complaining to you.
Well, listen, when we come back, we'll get into your collaboration with Arkells and that awesome show you're playing together in 2022. Very excited for that. But first, you're going to perform something for us. This is pretty exciting.
Yes, so I am going to play my new single, which is called Nothing Can Kill Us. The music video just came out. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into it. K.Flay performing from her new EP, Outside Voices. This is Nothing Can Kill Us.
I've been awake all night, reliving what I said to you at that show on the way east side. God, how I wish I'd known it'd be the last time
Nothing Can Kill Us, the new single from K.Flay off her upcoming EP Outside Voices. You said this song is about losing someone. Can you get into that?
My personal inspiration for this was romantic heartbreak, but I think heartbreak comes in so many forms. I think there's, you lose a friend, you lose a partner, you lose a family member, and that can mean like they've died, they're just out of your life, like whatever the case may be. But I think post breakup, where I was at personally emotionally, was just like remembering the kind of feeling, when you are in the heat of like that connection, you just feel invincible. It's sort of like time stops. Everything feels like forever, and like nothing, sort of nothing can kill us. Like nothing, we're just untouchable. Like this relationship, this connection, this feeling, it's really overwhelming in a beautiful way. And I think when you lose that, obviously there's great pain and there's great grief, but months later, years later, however long it takes, you start to realize like actually nothing can kill that relationship. Like that person, those experiences, that actually like changes your DNA. It changes how you look at the world. It changes how you behave, how you think about yourself. And so their sort of like impact on you lives forever. And there's something really celebratory and beautiful about that.
When I heard this song, I thought about a really close friendship that I had in high school. Me and this person were thick as thieves, and then we just kind of grew apart and became different people. And for a long time, I was really angry at what this friendship turned into. But maybe some relationships are better off graduating into memories. Just because you were friends with someone for a certain amount of time at a certain point in your life doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be friends forever. Like any kind of relationship, might have a best before date, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of a fallacy in our culture that a relationship is only meaningful if it lasts a lifetime. I really think that is a myopic way of viewing human relationship. I think sometimes, I think a relationship can be just as meaningful, just as beautiful, just as important, and in certain ways, just as successful, even if it doesn't last your whole life. For all of us, and especially during the pandemic, I think a lot of people have been thinking more about friendship. We put so much emphasis culturally on romantic relationships, but friendships are like, for me personally, my friendships have been such a cornerstone of my life. You are not the first person to tell me that they listened to this song and they did not think about an ex. Like they thought about a friend or they thought about a family member.
This next performance is a little bit different. It's kind of like an amalgamation in a sense.
Yes. I guess it's a classic mashup. I don't know. I just thought it would be fun. At this point, I've made so many songs in my career. I'm like, how do I like make this interesting? How do I combine things? So this is a mashup of Blood in the Cut and Zen, and I think it turns out pretty cool.
I love's got another girl. He might be up with her right now. I don't have an apartment. Thought if I was smart I'd make it far, but I'm still at the start. Guess I'm contagious. It'd be safest if you ran. That's what they are, just end up doing in the end. Take my car and paint it black. Take my arm, break it in half. Say something, do it soon. It's too quiet in this room. I need noise. I need the buzz of a sun. Need the crack of a whip. Need some blood in the cut. I need noise. I need the buzz of a sun. Need the crack of a whip. Need cooped up in a hole. I wanna lose all my control. I wanna just go on a rampage. Give me wisdom, give me teeth. Give me vision, let me see. Give me courage to confess. Every night I'd text my ex. Give me girls, give me boys. Give me life, give me peace, give me noise. Someone give me zen. Someone give me zen. Someone give me. I need something to avoid all of my fears and paranoia. Give me. Someone give me. Na 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 na
Blood in the Cut and Zen, a mashup from K.Flay, her new EP, Outside Voices, available November 19th. You know, you've done a ton of collaborating in the last year. You also worked with one of my favorite bands, and some would say like the pride of Canada, maybe. Arkells. How did that partnership happen? Like, did you guys meet somewhere? Was it online? Like, how did that friendship or collaboration start?
So that collaboration did start as a friendship. So it actually began kind of around the time that Blood in the Cut was like just coming out. I think Max had heard it, or I think his manager, I feel like it was through their manager or something like this. He had reached out to me, and I was in Toronto for something, and he was like, hey, do you want to like be on our podcast? Because, you know, he does a podcast.
Yeah, Mike on Much.
And I came by, and actually, funnily enough, this is kind of a cool story. The Arkells were in the studio recording Knocking at the Door the day that I met them.
Damn.
And
That's
I remember
some music history right there.
Yeah, and I came into the studio, and I was like, this song's sick. I like this. And we just struck up a friendship. So I mean, that was like, you know, 4.5 years ago or something. And you know, Max is a really smart, kind person, and I remember we all got beers and just chilled that night. And then our paths continued to cross. We would meet up anytime we were in the same city. And I was in Toronto a fair amount, and they've been in LA a fair amount. And Max had texted me actually just right before COVID hit, being like, we're going to be in LA, we're working on some songs, and I thought of you. Would you have any interest in collaborating? And he was like really sheepish, but he was really shy about it. And we've talked about this, and I was like, dude, hell yeah, I love it. And he was like, oh God, because it is nerve-wracking. I think unless you're like a narcissist sociopath, it's nerve-wracking to ask people things, like, because for me, I always feel like I'm imposing on people, but
and you don't want the rejection, right? Whether it's like asking out someone that you want to like pursue a romantic relationship with, or sometimes if you can borrow someone's pen, like, you know, the possibility of rejection, it you know, it can really hurt.
It can. But of course, I was really excited, and I went into the studio. Actually, it's not far from my house, and they were working on kind of the early version of You Can Get It, and we were talking about the inspiration and just, you know, everything behind it. And I kind of started like scribbling down, you know, I'm like kind of freestyling in my little corner, and it all just came together. And then COVID hit, and you know, all this stuff, but that was how it came about. So it was really, really, really natural. Most of my collaborations have emerged from an existing friendship. Same goes for Ex Ambassadors and Grandson. Jordan's one of my like closest friends. and I know Sam from Ex Ambassadors super, super well. I know all those guys. So I think it's really nice when you already have that level of comfort and kinship, because the great part of collaborating, just like the great part of conversation, is that unexpected things happen.
Well, listen, I could talk to you for hours, but you got stuff to do. We'll talk closer to the show in February. Hopefully next time we're not in my basement. It's like there's some sunlight coming in. That would be nice. K.Flay's new EP, Outside Voices, is out November 19th. The 2022 North American tour has a stop here in Toronto, February 21st at the Danforth Music Hall. Very excited for that one. You're also performing June 25th with Arkells at Rally Cry. K.Flay, always a pleasure. Have an awesome day.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation. And yes, hopefully see you in February.